Okay. We were talking about that excess and temperance and all that stuff. Back to our chapter, complete in Him. Fruit of the Spirit, temperance. So as we operate manifestations of the Spirit, see, we're demonstrating our completeness. What happens? We produce fruit. Part of the fruit of the Spirit is temperance, self-control. See how that helps with anything that we have that's out of control, any kind of behavior that's psychologically called addictive or whatever you want to call it. We can all be in better control in our lives. Otherwise, we wouldn't have, we wouldn't have to have that fruit of the Spirit. It doesn't say just for people who have this issue. Temperance, so that we won't have as many habits that are destroying us, that we can get that under control. Temperance. Fruit results from the operation of the manifestations of the Spirit. Christians can no more show the fruit of the Spirit without operating the manifestations of the Spirit than they can manifest the Spirit without having the Spirit. It's pretty logical. Fruit of the Spirit, of which Galatians 5:22 and 23 speak, is not the fruit of man's works. The fruit which evidences itself upon the operation of the manifestation of the Spirit is the only fruit of the Spirit. First, we operate the manifestations, the tools, and thereby cultivate into evidence the fruit. This truth is remarkable when we consider that for years we have read fruit of the Spirit, but have consistently acted as if it should have read the fruit of the works of man. Here again is where the world shows you all these things. They always have this wonderful spa picture where, ladies, you have to go to the spa because that's where you'll finally be, relaxed and peaceful. And when they put little rocks on your back and cucumbers on your eyes. Nothing wrong with going to the spa, except when that becomes the replacement for fruit of the Spirit, peace. See, nothing wrong with having a party until parties start replacing fruit of the Spirit, joy, and all the things involved with that. And then you're out of control instead of joy. Fruit of the Spirit. We're complete. Now, to demonstrate that completeness and to be able to have it, we operate manifestations of the Spirit. Besides what that handles right away, ultimately it profits us in more than one way, but at least in the way of fruit of the Spirit. And we get all these goodies: love, joy, peace, long-suffering, great patience, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. How truly wonderful it is to realize that as sons of God, we have the manifestations of the Spirit, and that by the operation of these manifestations is evidenced the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit comes into manifestation in the senses world only as we renew our minds to act by the power of the Spirit within us. The fruit of the Spirit comes into manifestation in the senses world only as we renew our minds to act by the power of the Spirit within us. That's our choice, to act by the flesh, senses, all that junk, or to act by the power of the Spirit within us. Often people who appear to be producing fruit by their works, even though it looks like genuine fruit, are producing the works of man and not the fruit of the Spirit. We as Christians are warned of being deceived by such. I was just talking about that, the magazine article. It looks like these people are having a good time, or the pictures are. I'm amazed at how wonderful these pictures look, and the great smiles on the faces of, prostitutes, for example. Or, just man is able to take this and put this just wonderful. It just looks so wonderful. I started thinking about that and thought, I'm just going to picture a skeleton in a skull. I want to see that movie, not the whole thing, but The Corpse Bride. Any of you guys see it? No? Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. Did you see the previews? Any of you see the previews? Where, the corpse bride comes out and she has and a maggot crawls out of her eye and goes through the side of her face and all that, because she's really a corpse. And she has to go, oops, push things back in. I thought about that. That's like, the natural women. Not born again of God's Spirit. Flitting their little whatever in front of us guys. They're just corpses. They're dead. That would put you in the corpse category, right? They're dead. Same with the guys that, by you women of God. They're dead. They're dead. But they have such great makeup. Sometimes, bods that are just, whoo, in either direction, male or female, just, wow. But any second, a maggot might just come out of one section, They're dead. They look good, though, right? Really good. But they're really dead. We as Christians are warned of being deceived by such. How do we get deceived? Because we're looking with our senses' eyes, and we're hearing with our senses' ears this sweet sound, and we get deceived. They're dead. It's death talking, if you could. But they have those neat little voice boxes things, electronic things, where actually the voice is going, I just want to take you and kill you and hurt you. But it's sounding like, wow, you sure are cute. Why can't we go somewhere? But really, the voice inside is going, there's maggots coming out. So that's why I put my mind so that to help me not be deceived by that crap. Colossians 2:8. We're back to Colossians to wrap up. Colossians des 8. I think that's the Spanish word for it. 8. Beware lest any man spoil you. To spoil you is to carry you away as booty. They want to carry you away as their treasure, as their prize. And if they shake their prize, they're shaking you as booty. There's a song somewhere in there. Through philosophy, world wisdom, remember? Philosophy. And vain deceit. It's empty, but it's deceit after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, elements of the world, and not after Christ. Colossians 2:4. And this I say, lest any man should beguile you with enticing words. The manifestations of the Spirit and the evidencing of the fruit of the Spirit show forth some of our completeness. The full extent of being complete in Him, however, can only be known when we see Him face to face, mano a mano. That's hand to hand, face to face. Colossians 3, verse 1. If ye then be risen with Christ, well, are you? Yes. So it should be translated since. Since ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are where? Above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of who? Cool. Set your affection. That's that word. It's a word that's translated in the King James usually thoughts. I forget what word it is. But it comes from a word that means the sac around the heart. And the King James translated affection. Dr. Earl, one of the teachings, shared that they didn't translate it thoughts because one of the translators saw that this was deeper than that. That area around the sac that covers the heart, that membrane or whatever it is, that's the word, the Greek root comes from that. So it's set your heart. The heart is the seat of the well, it's not talking about your physical heart. The heart is the seat of your personal life. It's where believing emanates from, see? So you set your heart on things above, not on things on the earth. So that longing for the things on the earth, see, I remember Monty was telling his dad, but Dad, you've had all these things, I haven't had them. Now Anthos has had them and realizes what a crock a lot of the stuff he got and had were. But because Monty hasn't had those things, if there's a longing that's there, well, I want these things. Boy, don't you think God's smart enough to know what's best for you and me? We think that, but then we allow our minds to think something else. See, we think that logically. We recognize that logically. Well, certainly God, who knows everything, would know what was best for me. But he doesn't understand that I really have to have this. God, don't you understand? Yeah, his understanding is infinite. But when we seek something else first, it reminds you maybe of Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom. Well, we don't have to seek the kingdom because the kingdom, we're not dealing with that. We're in the period of time of the mystery. So what it says to us is seek those things which are above. It says to us, set your heart on things above. Then what's God going to do? He's going to take care of everything else. That's where we have to believe I'm complete. But it looks like I have stuff that I really need. I'm complete. I'm complete. Not only am I complete, I'm... That's right. This is what we have to tell ourselves. Otherwise, we get beguiled with enticing what? Words. Now, I know this is simple, but remember the advanced class, we were at the advanced class and Dr. O was teaching. He goes, I know what you're thinking. This is real simple. Well, why did the devil tell you that before you got here so you could operate it more and stuff, And now he wants to tell you, oh, that's too simple, so you don't pay any attention. The old man nature. Oh, I need something deeper. This is simple. Yeah, it's simple. Yeah, it's easy for you in the sense that it was so hard for God. It cost God his only begotten Son. It cost Jesus Christ his life. For ye are dead. Dead, again, is complete, not the same word. It should be translated complete accurately. For ye are dead. You're complete. And your life is hid with Christ in God. Well, nobody can find it then. Mess with you. If your life is hidden with Christ in God, that's your real life spirit. When Christ, our life, see that who is in italics? When Christ, our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. Surely when we appear with him in glory, we shall be able to fully appreciate that we are completely, absolutely complete in him. How spiritually invigorating it is to know and to realize that we as Christians are what God says we are, and that we have what he says we have. We must renew our minds to believe and appropriate his word to our everyday living. All right. So that's session one. Anyone like to share anything? Let me move this out somewhere. Maybe anyone want to say something can be heard. Or maybe you don't want to put it on Facebook. Okay. Well, that's the best I can do right now. So, anything to share, anyone?
Just looking at how important it is to change some of our habit patterns and get our thought process changed, because day, I know during the day I think things that are not, doesn't, edify my husband. And I think, whoa, where did that come from? And then I'm God has given me the ability to know that that wasn't from him. So I change it. I change my mind. I change my thoughts from, boy, that's stupid, to, my husband is just the best. He's really good at getting things together and helping people. His heart is really to help people, That's all he wants. Rather than, why does he keep letting that girl do the same thing over and over again? So I change my mind, and changing those thought patterns, the faster that I do that, the better I breathe, the better I see him, the better I see myself, because I'm thinking good thoughts. And I think that Sophia is somebody that really, you have examples of people that you look at, and Garland, I've done things because I've seen him do them. And that's how I've changed. And I've done things that I've seen Sophia do. Like Sophia, she talks about good about people, And so I think, man, she always has something good to say about people. She always has something good to say about people when people don't have the best things to say about her. What is that about? So it's interesting that we can, everybody in this room has already had so much word instilled in them, and their abilities are so magnified to me that I learned from each of you in this room how better to manifest that love of God. Another thing I was thinking about from the world's perspective is Dr. Phil, which I always see, talking to people and couples about how they can change their life, and he does not have a clue. He has no clue because he has no word. And only with the word can we do this for each other, for the family, to be examples for the family, that mystery, and to be such tremendous examples for our spouse, of long suffering. I know Mark, I just saw him go through so much. And I thought, God is so patient. How does he have these people live with him? They come, they go. He says, let the brothers stay here. He's so long suffering. He's so full. I would kick people out. I'm thinking, I'd kick them out. But the more that I'm around, Jayla and Ed, I know there's more and more that I'll see. Well, Ed, I've been around him since like forever, and he's given me a lot of great examples of, just keeping that word, renewing his mind, and walking that word constantly. And I'm very, very blessed with Jayla, just, how much she has grown and how far she's come. So I'm thankful to have tremendous people around me, like you guys, to learn from, and that we always have the Word. I know where the Word is. I put my head in the Word because I realize how important it is that I renew my mind every day. I have to do that every day in order that I can be a blessing to myself. Otherwise, I don't like being miserable. I really don't. And then to be a blessing to my husband, who I dearly love, at times, tremendously. He has been so helpful to me when I went through all the little opportunities I had. He just stuck with me, He stuck with me through all of that, when I couldn't remember stuff, he'd tell me over and over. And that just was tremendous long-suffering for him. Because for him, it was like, here's a belief that this shouldn't be happening to her. So it was hard for him. And I just said, thank you for the day. That's all.
Anybody else?
Well, I'm very excited about this completely, absolutely complete in Him thing, which has been shared with me before, but there have been some, habit patterns that have developed in my life, personally, that I don't share with many people except for Mark, but this is really going to make a difference. I'm really excited about building the correct habit pattern, one that's, is what the Word says instead of what, the world says. And it's exciting that it always comes at the right time. Of course, I've been trying to figure out what to do about the situation, but, without having the Word, I just didn't know where to go in the Word, and it's kind of weird that I wouldn't have thought about this verse at all, but it applies, and I'm very excited to get healed up and to just be a newer, more improved person, because that'll help me serve more. I'm really excited. I know that our relationship will get a lot better, because I'll be in a much more renewed mind state. So I'm excited, and I really like that Coach Bride thing that he brought up, because I'll tell you what, I am annoyed to the bone, but a maxim is like driving me up the wall, but thank you. I'm going to be just fine now. Yeah, maxim.
Yeah, there's several of those out.
Stuff. But we get maxim. He likes the article, so I'm always looking at it. Sometimes I'll just be like,
I'm not complete.
oh, absolutely. I mean, it puts more pressure on you as a young person to be more and more senior and whatever. It's just, so I'm very excited about that, because that is the truth. And there's this one article talking about this girl, and she was all sexy and everything, and talking about, her religion, which is an idolatrous religion. That's just horrible. I mean, on the surface, she looks gorgeous. Gorgeous Indian woman. But she is horrible.
So you don't even know where some of those maggots might be coming out of. But
Right. Definitely their mouth. That's a stupid word.
intriguing. I love that. Definitely good timing on this topic. I mean, it's just easy to fall into little things that you think negatively about, someone. I mean, no matter how like tiny they are, it's like, you have the thought like, doing that, or like just little things that you get annoyed by, and you just always think about them. Like, and then, like you said, even when the person's not doing that, you're still like annoyed by it, and they're not even doing it, and you're like, that's like so easy to fall into, and that's not renewed mind, that's not the Lord of God. It's like,
Alrighty. Well, think of a good timing? Johnny.
amen.
And now we're on tape. One of the things I do want to deal with, because it comes up in couples' lives, is finances. They used to say, they probably still do, like we care what they say. Them. That the two things that, well, you've probably heard this. What two things do they say are the most destructive things in marriage? Or that, how do they put it? They're two detrimental to a marriage.
Lack of sex and finance.
You've heard both? You've heard that too? Ed? Owning an animal, a small animal. Animal and Jenga. Mark? Sex with Jenga. Lack of sex with Jenga. Okay. Woo.
Woo! Don't listen to this tape.
Oh yeah, we're on tape, right? And since the word doesn't particularly say that, I'm not sure that's the case. However, we do see from an experiential standpoint that finances seem to have a big effect on marriages. Even couples that had, I can think of a particular example where a couple had a lot of money early on in their relationship, and then the husband didn't have as much later on, and that caused them some issues. I shouldn't say it caused them issues. It's just a change. How they dealt with that change is really the issue. Because life is full of surprises, full of changes, full of things. We weren't told in the Word that there would never be any challenges. As a matter of fact, we were told just the opposite, weren't we? That there would be challenges, but that we were more than what? So we're more than conquerors in any situation. And we're more than conquerors individually, and then when we're together, if we're heirs together of the grace of life, then we're more than conquerors together. Just like we're complete as individuals, and then when we come together as a married couple, we're a complete couple, because we're already complete as individuals. I forget who it was that said it, but they said something like, if you don't give me all of you, then I'm really the loser, because if I give you all of me and only get half of you, well, I already had all of myself before I met you. So now I've only got 3/4 or something. So, it's, but when we've given all of ourselves to the other person, then all of me. Why not take all of me? I had no idea where I was going with that last thought, but that's okay. Back to the word. Segueing into song. So, that's it. More than conquerors individually, more than conquerors together, complete individually, complete together. Now, all of our circumstances, during this weekend, there's the standard of the Word, and then there's wherever we are in our lives at this time. Because the standard of the Word is perfection, it's wonderful, it's just awesome, and God has to set that standard that way, because if we followed his word all the time, according to what the word says, we would always live at that standard. But he also knew that we would not follow his word at that standard all the time. Otherwise, there could just be Romans, Ephesians, and 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. There wouldn't need to be Corinthians, correcting the practical error that crept into the church, Galatians, correcting the doctrinal error that crept into the church. There wouldn't need to be Philippians, correcting the practical error that crept into the church, or Colossians, correcting the doctrinal error that crept into the church, right? There would only need to be doctrine. He'd just go, here's what you do, and we'd go, great. From that point forward, we'd do her. But that's not what happens. We start doing it, we stumble, we trip, we succumb to the lies of the world, we succumb to the tricks of the adversary, we get, bamboozled at times. Sometimes we just aren't up to it, or whatever it is, because we're people. In our flesh, we're not perfect. God also knew that. There was only one guy that pulled it off with his physical body being perfect. Is it time? Already? I have to see if there's a tree to put on. And then... Oh. Okay, we're back. We're going to be reviewing Christians Should Be Prosperous. We might do something else in the meantime because we're going to have some copies made. I just thought it might be nice if you had this to look at. And this one is scribbled all over with my notes. One of my favorite ones, I lost in an airport. I had one of the originals that I had for years. It had just a gazillion lot of notes in it. And I was changing things around. I had it shoved in my Bible, and somehow it fell out in some airport. So some person has probably made $2 or $3 million right now. So I'm really excited about this, about Christians Should Be Prosperous, for a number of reasons. One of the things Sophia and I were planning on doing, which we still haven't done yet, but perhaps someday we still will get it accomplished. She had wanted to, what were we going to do, rewrite it, and you were going to do something with me on it. And then Ed, kind of at one point, Ed, you and I were working on redoing it. So I've just continued to work it over the years, adding where I could and changing where I could. It's such an awesome piece of work. I'm thinking about removing the name Christians because, again, as you remember, Christians was something unbelievers called the believers. So it'd be like if somebody called, someone with some ethnic slang, and that becomes your name that you associate with from there on. If you really think about it, let's see. Let me see if I can think of some ethnic slang that won't offend anyone. I can't.
People are actually doing that now, so prepare.
Stop. There could be, this is on tape, there could be some ethnic person who listens to this down the road and gets offended and hurt. Anyway, so why should we go? That's why I'm thinking a lot more about sons of God, children of God, believers, which, other than using Christians. However, for now, though I am really renewing my mind on that, to use a different, for another reason. Christians, you look at the definition of, like, if you go online and ask Jeeves or Google or one of these places, and you look up Christians, it'll talk about people that worship the Trinity, a Trinity. I don't want to be associated with that group. It's just not what I want to. We don't worship three gods. We worship one true God. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. God is our Father. We are sons of God. We're heirs of God. We're joint heirs with Christ. Christians, I understand, but I'm really thinking seriously about dropping the use of that. I've thought about it over the years and kind of always gone back to, well, that way we can relate to people, but I don't want to relate to them on three gods and one and stuff like that. Already people don't understand this. As soon as we start speaking the word, they can't relate anymore, so we may as well just start off with them going, from the start. Huh? You're what? So you mean a Christian? No, I'd rather not be called that because we only worship one true God, not three. We're not idolaters. Oh, I see. Maybe we win more Muslims that way. That was part of their thing, by the way. I didn't understand that as much as I do now. But part of their thing was that Christians were into worshiping three gods, and that's idolatry. They know that. Now, Allah's not, they don't have the right one either, but that's another story. Anyway, I wrote on here the word should, on this title, Christians should be prosperous, and I put, yes, I should. The word should speaks to the mind of the believer. Speaks to the mind of the believer, the word should. There must be a reason or reasons why Christians or a believer should be, deserves to be, or has a right to be prosperous, embedded in the mind, the thinking patterns, the soul, the heart and belief patterns of the child of God, in order for that child of God to achieve and maintain prosperity. That should thing has to be locked in our minds. And having money doesn't mean people have the right attitude towards money either. See, Christians should be prosperous. Some people think in terms of trying to hold on. That's why second generational, third generational money rarely accelerates at the rate of the first generation, the guy or woman who originally started it and produced it. Because the other generations start getting in this I got to hold on to it mode rather than expand it mode. Christians should be prosperous. See, we got on this track, let's see, when was this? It was December. I actually brought that booklet with me, Sophia, where we handled, what was the name of that? The Laws That Govern Prosperity. It was a mini advanced class. We called it Advanced Class Days. We did it in Orlando. It was December 2nd, actually, I believe was the day. Okay? So when we started really hammering in on every Christian should prosper beyond every unbeliever. Now think of that concept. Now, think of a Christian that you know who perhaps is not the most astute business-wise. All right? So now you can think of someone that perhaps doesn't have, they're not a driving business person. Perhaps they work for someone or whatever, or work for themselves, but maybe they have a business that is a small, just sort of get along type of business. Well, that believer should be prospering more than Bill Gates, assuming Bill Gates is an unbeliever. I keep using Bill Gates as an example because he's typically considered the wealthiest man in the world, and I've never once heard him give credit or thanks to God or acknowledge Jesus Christ as his Lord. Have you? Ever? And if you had $50 billion, I don't know how much he has today, but it's in that neighborhood. If you had $50 billion, Jayla, would you give God any credit? Yeah. Would you ever mention that Jesus Christ is your Lord? And then, right? We do it now with whatever we have. Wouldn't you take whatever opportunity you could to go, and the reason I'm prospering is because, I abundantly share, or I tithe. Well, what does that mean? Well, I give. I want to make sure that things of God get. Things of God. Well, what do you mean by that? Now, there's a door open. You're witnessing. You're sharing the word with somebody. So that means think of whoever you know that that doesn't have a lot of business savvy, perhaps. That individual should prosper beyond Bill Gates. Think about it. That's outrageous. I mean, really think about that. Is that not just, doesn't that just kind of get your brain going? See? How far below par. Every child of God should prosper beyond every unbeliever. What about the Sultan of Brunei? He's worshiping Allah, Baba, and the 40 Thieves, or whatever he's worshiping. See? It's his privilege. But he's not worshiping the true God to the best of my knowledge. If you are, praise the Lord. Salt in the Brunei, if you get this tape. If you get this tape and you're not, change gods. Because yours is sending you straight to me. Wild. Think about that. So, Mark, you should be prospering beyond Bill Gates. When you get through with cop school or whatever you're doing, Ed, you should prosper beyond Bill Gates. I don't care if you're a cop or what you are. Because every believer it's God's primary will for every believer to prosper beyond every unbeliever. Now, there are principles of prosperity. And some of which can involve what profession you choose or have chosen, or what, you could have a certain profession but still invest in stock or bonds or real estate or something that gives you the opportunity to have prosperity in your life beyond every unbelief. If all you do is work a 40-hour-a-week job at $5 an hour, if that's all you do, then you have the right and the privilege and you're complete, but your actions would not evince prosperity of that level. Because there are principles involved. Planting, reaping, there are principles of the word, of prosperity. Quality. So, there must be a reason or reasons why a believer should be, deserves to be, or has a right to be prosperous. There must be reasons. Those reasons have to get embedded in the mind, the thinking patterns, the soul, the heart and belief patterns of the child of God in order for that child of God to achieve and maintain prosperity. Because we could achieve it and not maintain it. So we got to get whatever it is in the Word, we got to embed in our brains in such a way that kind of, I'm not just talking a little prosperity, I'm talking massive prosperity. Okay. One of the reasons for this weekend was for you as married couples also to see, and I've done this, we've done this in our ministry through the years. We've always endeavored to the best of our ability in any of our events to go to the best places possible to make sure people had the best quality food, the best of everything that we had available. Now, when we started off, the best we had was when we went to the Key. The first advanced class, for example, was just outside of Key West, about 30 miles outside of Key West. And where was it? Little Duck Key. Nice house, and actually for that time it was an expensive house in that area of the Keys with just a gorgeous view of the sky, the stars. We've never been in a place with stars like that since. It was just, they were like a blanket. Because there were so few lights around that you could, like being out in the mountains or out in an area where there's just no ambient light, and the stars were just outrageous. But so that we can get a bigger vision, so that we can elevate so that we can get used to the idea that, hey, I should be prosperous. I should be. Staying at the registry. The only reason we didn't stay at the Ritz is because it wasn't available. They were sold out. And by the time I heard back from everyone and got everything arranged, we got the best we could get in an area that's considered now one of the most expensive areas to live in. Not just for the expense, but so that we can enjoy ourselves in an atmosphere like this, which is wealthy. I mean, Giuliani stayed here last night, or maybe he's still here. He could stay anywhere. Well, so can we. We could stay anywhere we wanted to stay. To elevate our vision, this is what's available. We don't have to struggle. What's that about? Well, this is the only job, and see, Sophia works with our company. course, she's done that on and off forever. But you live in Texas. The company's in Pennsylvania. Of course, we live in Florida and Pennsylvania. And we're spending more time traveling. We have that kind of set up where we don't have to be there all the time. And we're working it where we don't have to be there any of the time. See, that it's available, but we have to so embed in our minds, hey, I am supposed to be prosperous in any situation.